The traditional view, part 2. It is clear from early Christian writings that Irenaeus knew Polycarp personally and was discipled by him. This is not inferred loosely. It is explicitly stated and repeatedly affirmed in the historical record. Florinus of Rome, Irenaeus refers directly to Polycarp, the convert of the Apostle John, in his letter to Florinus, establishing Irenaeus's personal presence in Polycarp's home and under his instruction. Irenaeus writes, open quote, "Those presbyters who preceded us and who were conversant with the apostles did not hand down to thee. For, while I was yet a boy, I saw thee in Lower Asia with Polycarp, distinguishing thyself in the royal court and endeavoring to gain his approbation. So that I can even describe the place where the blessed Polycarp used to sit and discourse, his going out to, and his coming in, his general mode of life and personal appearance, together with the discourses which he delivered to the people. Also, how he would speak of his familiar intercourse with John and with the rest of those who had seen the Lord, and how he would call their words to remembrance. Whatsoever things he had heard from them respecting the Lord, both with regard to his miracles and his teaching, Polycarp, having thus received from the eyewitnesses of the word of life, would recount them all in harmony with the Scriptures. These things, through God's mercy which was upon me, I then listened to attentively, and treasured them up not on paper, but in my heart, and I am continually, by God's grace, revolving these things accurately in my mind." Close quote. This is not legend, this is personal memory. Victor of Rome, Irenaeus also mentions Polycarp in his correspondence with Bishop Victor of Rome, again affirming Polycarp's authority, stature, and apostolic continuity within the church. Bart Ehrman on early tradition. 1. Bart Ehrman acknowledges the existence of an early eyewitness tradition connected to John the Apostle. Ehrman writes, open quote, "Already in the writings of the church father Papias, now lost, but partially preserved by Eusebius in Historia Ecclesiastica 339 Fort 17, around 120 to 130 CE, nearly half a century before Irenaeus, Papias claimed, on the basis of good authority, that the disciple Matthew had written down the sayings of Jesus in the Hebrew language, and the others had provided translations of them, presumably into Greek. He also said that Peter's companion Mark had rearranged the preaching of Peter about Jesus and created a book out of it." Close quote. This places gospel tradition within living memory of the apostles, not generations later. Irenaeus, discipled by Polycarp II. Irenaeus lived with Polycarp and was discipled by him. He explicitly describes Polycarp's going out and coming in. Open quote. "For, while I was yet a boy, I saw thee in Lower Asia with Polycarp, so that I can even describe the place where the blessed Polycarp used to sit and discourse, his going out to, and his coming in, his general mode of life and personal appearance." Close quote. This places Irenaeus inside Polycarp's household, not at a distance. We can place Irenaeus in the bathhouse and in Polycarp's home, learning directly from him. Bart Ehrman notes, open quote, "Expressly, adv heres 3.3, and apud Euseb Hist, Eccl 4:14. He was instructed, perhaps converted, mathetephthis, by the apostles, and conversed familiarly with many who had seen Christ, was by the apostles appointed katastathis, bishop of the church at Smyrna, and always taught what he had learned from the apostles." Close quote. Polycarp, appointed by apostles, Irenaeus himself writes, open quote, "But Polycarp also was not only instructed by apostles and conversed with many who had seen Christ, but was also, by apostles in Asia, appointed bishop of the church in Smyrna, whom I also saw in my early youth. For he tarried on earth a very long time, and, when a very old man, gloriously and most nobly suffering martyrdom, departed this life, having always taught the things which he had learned from the apostles, and which the church has handed down, and which alone are true. To these things all the Asiatic churches testify, as do also those men who have succeeded Polycarp down to the present time." Against Heresies 3.1.1. Close quote. This is collective testimony, not isolated opinion. John's Gospel at Ephesus. Irenaeus further writes, open quote, "Then, after the publication of the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, John, the disciple of the Lord, who had even rested on his breast, himself also gave forth the gospel, while he was living at Ephesus in Asia." Close quote. This is cited by Eusebius, Church History 5.8, and corresponds directly with Against Heresies 3.1.1. Eyewitness continuity into the time of Trajan. Irenaeus also states, open quote, even as the gospel and all the elders testify, those who were conversant in Asia with John, the disciple of the Lord, affirming that John conveyed to them that information, and he remained among them up to the times of Trajan. Some of them, moreover, saw not only John but the other apostles also, and heard the very same account from them, and bear testimony as to the validity of the statement. Whom then should we rather believe? Against Heresies 2:22-5.